A beef between two titans of the New York music scene hits the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Why 50 Cent was brought up this week during emotional witness testimony. Combs and 50, they've been at odds for a long time. And now, one of them is facing the possibility of spending the rest of their life in federal prison, and the other is not holding back or hiding the apparent joy they find in that possibility happening with a guilty verdict.
Nobody expected 50 Cent to appear in this courtroom. For years, he has taken shots at Diddy on social media, mocking, clowning, and calling him out in his usual way. But when he walked through those doors and testified under oath, everything changed. This was no longer a mocking attempt. This was not rap beef. This was war, and 50 Cent packed a grenade, not just petty gossip.
Sean Diddy Combs and 50 Cent. These two go back a long time. They have been rivals for a long time. And this week we learned that, at least from Diddy's side of things, this feud apparently went far beyond words. 50 Cent's name came up during the testimony this week of Capricorn Clark. She is a former assistant of Sean Combs who went on to become the head of marketing for his Sean John clothing brand. Clark rose successfully and professionally through the ranks of Diddy's world during her time working for him, which stretched between 2004 to 2018, so she saw a lot. Clark claimed that Diddy would threaten her, and she says he even kidnapped her in 2011. All of this matters as we build up to how 50 Cent kind of factors into what she said on the stand. Now, Capricorn Clark started working for Bad Boy after she worked for Death Row Records. Now that's surprising, since Death Row was ran by perhaps Diddy's most hated enemy, Suge Knight. Clark said that one of her good friends had a baby with Suge Knight, and that's how she knew him. And in perhaps the most shocking story from her testimony, Clark claimed that shortly after she started working for Diddy, Diddy and his security guards took her to Central Park after dark, and Diddy said, quote, "He told me he didn't know that I had anything to do with Suge Knight, and if anything happened, he would have to kill me." It is an allegation that paints Combs as someone who is ready to take a life. But as Capricorn Clark's testimony continued, she brought up another rival of Sean Diddy Combs and another allegation that he made an ominous threat of violence. Clark testified, when working for Diddy, they went to a press event at MTV and 50 Cent was there. And just wait until you hear what she says Diddy told 50's manager. 50 Cent's real name is Curtis Jackson. He rose to fame in the early 2000s. You might remember songs like In the Club. You might remember that he was the leader of the rap group G-Unit. Now, 50 grew up in Jamaica, Queens, New York. Diddy, also a New York native. He was born in Harlem, grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, just about 20 miles away. And even though they both had success in music, they both rose to fame representing the city of New York and the rap scene there, they have been longtime rivals. In 2006, 50 Cent released a diss track about Diddy. So almost 20 years ago, this goes back a long way. And in that diss track, he says, quote, "Who shot Biggie Smalls? We don't get 'em. They gon' kill us all. Man, Puffy know who hit that expletive. Man, that expletive soft." Now, 50 is accusing Combs there of knowing who killed his friend, the notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace. Wallace and Puffy were incredibly close, but Wallace was shot and killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles in 1997, and no one has ever been charged for pulling the trigger. This all happened during really the height of the East Coast-West Coast rap rivalry of the 90s, which involved Suge Knight, who we mentioned earlier. 50 Cent has also accused Diddy of orchestrating the murder of death row rapper Tupac Shakur, who died.
The courtroom was unprepared for what happened. Diddy certainly didn't see that coming, and once 50 started speaking, there was no turning back. He started with the most basic statement, "I've known Sean for a long time, longer than most people here. I know both the public and private Diddy." With that, the strain burst open. The 1950s tone was neither loud or theatrical, rather, it was chilly, focused, and dead serious. He claimed he never wanted to be a part of this case. He said he tried to keep away, but when he saw the stories coming out and heard what was being said, he realized he had to speak, not just to try his luck at a rival, but because he saw, heard, and knew things that were harsher than anyone on the outside could imagine.
This is Dwayne Keith D. Davis. He was arrested in September 2023, and he is the only person facing charges related to Tupac's murder. But 50 Cent has continued to push the allegation that Sean Combs either knows something or did something for Tupac to end up dead, though Diddy has denied that But in a 2023 Instagram post, 50 wrote, "Damn, so Pac got lined by brother love, LOL, time to lawyer up, expletive might get sticky," with a pic of Suge Knight in a car with Tupac. Diddy, who has a lot of names, Puff Daddy, Puffy, Puff, and brother love is one of those other names. Now, from Diddy's side of things, again, he's denied having anything to do with Tupac's murder, and he's also denied having anything to do with Christopher Wallace's death, and he's denied publicly having issues with 50 Cent. Here's what Combs said when he was asked about a beef with 50 in a 2018 interview with the radio show The Breakfast Club, Power 105.1 FM.
Hey, yo, I don't have no beef with
I don't know why.
With Fifth. He loves me. He loves me.
Do y'all really
can't
have
see
a
it?
beef?
I mean, y'all can't see it.
No, we can't see
Y'all can't
it,
see
man.
that he loves me?
But see,
you really think that's hate?
If you look at 50's social media, you can see he has a lot of posts about Diddy. And this is what he posted the day that federal agents in Miami raided Combs' mansion ahead of his arrest on the charges that he's now on trial for. 50 Cent posted on X, "Now it's not Diddy do it, it's Diddy done. They don't come like that unless they got a case." 50 Cent also included a link to his G-Unit clothing brand in that post. While Diddy in the Breakfast Club clip said that 50 Cent actually loves him and there was never a beef, on the stand this week, Capricorn Clark said otherwise. Clark said that she was at this press event at MTV with Diddy and 50 Cent was also there, all of this happening in New York. Clark said, quote, "After the interview wrapped up, myself, Puff, and Chris Lighty got in the elevator." Clark said that Lighty was an entertainment manager who, on paper, was managing Diddy at the time, but was also 50 Cent's manager at the time. Prosecutors asked Clark what happened in the elevator, and she said, quote, "Puff told Chris, because they were having some sort of issue, like, I really don't like all the back and forth. I don't do that. I like guns." The prosecutor then asked, "What's the issue with an individual?" And Clark responded, he had an issue with 50 Cent. She said Combs was very serious when he said that. In this case, it has become common to hear testimony from witnesses about alleged threats by Diddy. In fact, several witnesses have said that Diddy regularly threatened to fire people, to beat people, like his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and in this case, making a threat involving firearms to settle a dispute, per the testimony of someone who was one of his closest associates for more than a decade. Invoking gun violence and some sort of veiled threat, that could be scary for some, but apparently not 50 Cent.
He mentioned parties, not the ones that are posted online, but the secret, exclusive ones that take place only when the cameras and phones are turned off. He claimed Diddy had a reputation in the industry not only for being flamboyant or rich, but also for creating these places where the rules did not apply. He didn't mince words in cases where the lines between pleasure, power, and manipulation became blurred. He called it aggressive. He claimed Diddy lived on control, that he would observe them, test them, push them, and see how far they were willing to go, and that if they resisted, they were frozen out. Quietly and permanently, 50 told a story about a night he'd never forget. It happened years ago. He had been called to a VIP room following a Diddy-hosted music event. At first look, it appeared to be any other celebrity after-party, bottles, music, and renowned faces, but something seemed odd. People were acting nervously. Some of the people looked to be there. The energy was not suitable. 50 claimed he departed after an hour, but the following morning he got a call from someone who had stayed. They were shaken. He claimed they witnessed things they couldn't undo, that people were under pressure to do things they didn't want to do, and that he was right. In the thick of it all. That's when 50 learned it wasn't just about crazy nights or fame, it was about control, and Diddy exploited his power to create an environment in which individuals either gave in or disappeared. From there, the stories continued to pile up. Artists who became close to Diddy and then suddenly disappeared from the spotlight. Employees that quit without notice.
Instagram 50 posted right after his name came up in the courtroom, quote, cut, wait a minute, Puffy's got a gun? I can't believe this. I don't feel safe, with a picture that looked like an AI image of 50 Cent on a movie set looking serious. And he wasn't done. Shortly after that, he posted another AI image on Instagram of him in a Yankees hat with a very scared look on his face with the caption, "Oh my goodness, itty bitty Diddy wants me dead. I have to lay low." Sad face emoji. "I think I'm gonna hide out at the playoff game tonight, LOL. Then the next day he posted what he did that night. He went to the NBA playoff game between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. And you can see him here in a picture on the floor in a shirt that reads, quote, "Free Diddy," playing into the trolling that 50 Cent has done to Sean Combs over the years, even before Combs was ever accused of what he is on trial for. Now, Combs' trial is expected to last another month at least. He's charged with racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He has pleaded not guilty. Join us now to talk more about the trial of Sean Diddy Combs and everything that's going on inside the courtroom is Afi Patterson, civil and criminal defense attorney. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We're focusing on what was a minor moment in the grand scheme of everything we heard in the trial this week, but there's this anecdote that Capricorn Clark told about what related to 50 Cent, but what Diddy allegedly told 50 Cent's manager at MTV during her time of working for Diddy. What did you make of that? Sean Combs saying, "I don't like the back and forth, but I like guns."
I think it goes to the overall case. They've been saying that Diddy was a dangerous guy. If he made a threat, he could back it up. And I do recall reading that she said that his demeanor was very, very serious. And knowing his history, his violent history, knowing about the beef between Biggie and Tupac, I think that it probably frightened her. And I think that just again, her knowing about his violence, his propensity for violence, his behavior with her, his behavior with Cassie, his behavior with other employees, he's just continually reinforcing that violence. So I think it was a really good moment for the government.
Yeah, it's just, and it seems like there are these little moments along the way where there are some celebrity names that pop up. This case, it was 50 Cent. We heard earlier in the trial, Usher and Neo were at a dinner where Cassie was allegedly assaulted. It was unclear whether they saw that, but it was said that they were there. As far as the history of 50 Cent and Diddy, do we know how it started? I know that 50 Cent had a diss track, I think around 2006, claiming that Sean Combs knew who killed Biggie Smalls, but is there a particular incident that happened that made 50 Cent just seem to really start to come at Sean Combs?
Combs' trial is expected to run at least another month, even though he was never charged of the charges he is facing. He has been charged with racketeering, forced sex trafficking, and transportation for prostitutes. He's pled not guilty. Afi Patterson, a civil and criminal defense attorney, joins us today to talk Sean Diddy Combs' trial and everything else going on inside the courtroom. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We're focusing on a little event in court. Bombshell, the truth that silenced everyone. In the broad picture of everything we heard in the trial this week, there's this anecdote that Capricorn Clark recounted about, what Diddy supposedly told 50 Cent's manager at MTV during her time working for Diddy. What did you make of Sean Combs' comment, "I don't like the back and forth, but I like guns"? The full case. They've been saying Diddy was a dangerous guy. If he made a threat, he could back it up, and I do recall reading that she said that his demeanor was very, very serious, and knowing his history, his violent history, knowing about the beef between Biggie and Tupac, I think that it probably frightened her, and I think that just knowing about his violence, his penchant for violence, his behavior with her, Cassie, and other staff, he's constantly reinforcing that aggression. So I believe that was a moment for the government. Yeah, it's just that there seem to be these minor instances along the route where big names show. In this case, it was 50 Cent. We heard earlier in the trial that Usher and Neo were at a banquet where Cassie was reportedly raped. It was unclear whether they witnessed it, but it was claimed that they were present. Do we know how 50 Cent and Diddy's friendship began? I know 50 Cent had a diss track, I believe around 2006, saying that Sean Combs knew who killed Biggie Smalls, but was there a specific incident that caused 50 Cent to suddenly turn on Sean Combs' pals who distanced themselves without explaining why? According to 50, this was not a coincidence, but rather part of a trend. Then he revealed the true news. He stated that in the early 2000s, he was approached by someone from Diddy's circle. They gave him the chance to partner on a new venture, something off the books and exclusive, but when he questioned questions, they became evasive and stated it was about providing elite venues for expression. When he pressed harder, they backpedaled, and Diddy approached him days later, telling him to ignore the offer. I told him it was not for him. 50 stated that the expression in Diddy's eyes that day continues to haunt him. He seemed to know I wasn't going to play along, which angered him. The courtroom stayed transfixed as 50 laid everything out. He did not yell. He didn't overstate. He simply told the truth, or at least his truth.
I was f***ed up. I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy and go into rehab. I had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
And as he dug deeper, things became worse. He named people who confided in him, people who worked with Diddy, and people who said they felt stuck and unable to leave. Like, if they spoke up, something would happen. Not lawsuits, not negative news, but something worse. Silent threats, extortion, and rumors knowingly planted to tarnish reputations. It was all too planned to be coincidental. He even said that there were whispered talks behind closed doors about Diddy storing files, images, films, and other materials that could be utilized to keep people in line. 50 confessed that he had never seen the data directly, but the anxiety was genuine. Too many people talked it. Too many people were afraid. He claimed that musicians would leave Diddy's studio late at night looking like they had been through fight, not physically but mentally damaged, as if they had given up something they didn't want to. The saddest part is that most of them never spoke about it in public. At this time, Diddy couldn't keep it together. He leaned forward, whispered loudly to his legal staff, and smashed his hand against the table. The court quickly called for order, but the outburst spoke louder than any argument ever could. He was unraveling. 50 just stared at him, not flinching, as if he knew what was going to happen and had seen it before. Then 50 did something surprising. He got personal. He discussed being young in the business and how difficult it was to handle fame, power, and individuals like Diddy. He stated that the worst part was not the fear, but the silence, how everyone around Diddy would back him, shield him, normalize his behavior, laugh it off, defend him in public, and whisper the truth in private. 50 stated he was finished whispering. He ended his testimony with a simple sentence. It's not about beef. It's about the truth, and people need to understand who they're dealing with. The courtroom did not cheer. It did not need to. The quiet said everything.
The video was published to Diddy's Instagram, but has since been scrubbed from his page. Diddy's rival 50 Cent had choice words about the brutal video, saying first he denied that even happened, and then the tape comes out, so that means everything that N-word says is a lie. When someone watches that, if they have a daughter and they can imagine her being under those circumstances, that stuff is crazy. Like they let him get away with it. With all the influence and power you have, the person you're with is supposed to be a part of your life, not be forced. 50 Cent has long touted his plans to make a docu-series about his longtime rival. When asked what made 50 want to produce the series, he replied in part, "I'm the only one from hip-hop culture that's produced quality rapper more than 20 years ago. He used to ghostwrite for the Bad Boy founder." But 50 Cent made it clear the two just worked together. He replied in part, "I wouldn't call it a friendship because there would be disappointment between us if we didn't speak to each other. There's points that we work together." 50 Cent would go on to credit Jennifer Lopez, Diddy's ex-girlfriend, who 50 Cent said told Diddy he would work with him as a songwriter in the beginning of his career. 50 Cent said this occurred when he was getting back to work after being shot several times in May of 2000. He would recall, though, one time when Diddy called and 50's oldest son's mother answered the phone and 50 refused to talk to Diddy. 50 would go on to say he didn't want to answer the phone because he didn't want to ever party or hang out with him. He replied, "Puff is a business person. When people call him a producer, I see people that were taken advantage of who produced things that he took from them. He got credit. He's not a producer. He's been able to take advantage of the business and the creatives in it."
Outside, the press exploded. Cameras swarmed. Reporters screamed questions. Social media lit up instantly. People started sharing old clips of 50 threats against Diddy. In past interviews, he hinted at something deeper. Things that used to sound like jokes became boring. These were warnings. The term 50 was right started trending. Fans found old videos, tweets, and stories. Everything was now under scrutiny. every strange interview, every awkward encounter, and every musician who had ever left bad boy records for inexplicable reasons. People began to piece it all together, and what they found was not a coincidence. It was a pattern, and he did not react. No news release, no social media post, just silence. For a man who was generally saying something, quiet was more powerful than denial. What 50 did in that courtroom was not only powerful, but it also marked a turning point. It wasn't about revenge or rivalry, it was about exposing Diddy, removing the mask he'd worn for decades. And the scariest part? 50 was not even the final witness. More are arriving, people with stories, receipts, and names. The business is watching and shaking, because if Diddy can fall, so can anyone. What happens next might change everything. Not only for him, but for the culture, the system that allowed it to continue, and the silence that protected it. The truth is out, and there is no stopping it. Diddy developed his persona on being untouchable, but he now looks very, very touchable. And the truth is out for everyone.